brilliant speed with vibrant service, vibrant broadband internet.
It is 10:30. It is Wednesday. That means we're going to get smart. Just like the old TV show, Get Smart.
Get Smart?
Huh? How about that?
Well, we'd like to think so, but you never know.
All right. Who all have we got here?
Well, my name is Nathan.
I'm Jane.
And I'm Bo.
And we are the Vibrant U Live team for Vibrant and Meeker Cooperative. Thanks for introducing us. Thanks for welcoming us yet again.
Right on.
So this week we wanted to talk about a topic that we hear about a lot at the Vibrant office, and that is email services. You know, we still get calls from people every day that want to switch to Vibrant, are ready to go, but they feel trapped because they have an email that was provided by their old internet provider, their current internet provider,
right?
And they may not be able to keep it if they make a switch, or they may have to pay just to have the email if they make a switch. And they may have had that email for years, and it's used for logging into Facebook, and it's used for their medical stuff, and it's used for their banking. I mean, you can have that email tied to a lot of stuff, and people feel trapped by that. So we get that call all the time. So we're going to talk about email today, why it's beneficial to have more of like a nationwide email provider than be having one just from your local internet provider, and stuff like that. So to kind of kick it off, we'll talk about how email kind of got started. The first email ever, do you have a guess on what year it was sent?
Oh, I'm going to guess, let's see, when did Al Gore invent the internet? About back then, but I suppose 1993.
Yep, earlier than you would think. I was surprised by this. Ray Tomlinson sent the first email in 1971.
Oh, boy.
And it wasn't tech, it was the early predecessor of what we call the internet today. It was sent on something called ARPANET.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't probably technically what we call the internet today. But believe it or not, that first email that was sent used that @ symbol that we still use today in emails to separate the person and the quote-unquote email service. So that's still used today. That little @ symbol is to separate kind of the user and the service that you're using. Kind of interesting, but that was used on the very first email ever.
Perfect. So, Bo, what do you know about the earliest email service?
Well, I mean, he did send a cat video. I thought that was kind of interesting. So actually, the first email was used to send like research sharing between universities, between connected computers. So that was your standard to, from. You could forward emails. So all those email fundamentals were still there back in the day, and we use it every day now. But now, a lot of internet service providers were giving people emails when they signed up for internet. So back in the day when you're like, maybe we should get internet, you got your email along with it. So they're still in existence today. A lot of people still have those. They have your AOL accounts. Those were kind of even before the internet provided email. But I mean, some people's bills, a lot of their accounts are connected with an email provided by their internet. So it's kind of called their domain or their domain name. So it makes it a little bit harder to switch if you're like, hey, I want a better internet provider, but I don't know exactly what to do with my email. We're going to go into that a little bit later, but Jane's going to first talk about some like early independent emails, and these are companies that you're going to have heard of and probably use every day.
Perfect. All right, Woody. So what was the first major email provider?
The first major email provider, AOL.
Nope. CompuServe.
CompuServe, sure, the world famous CompuServe.
There you go.
That was the second guess.
Yeah, I was going with that, really.
And that was founded in 1969, and they began offering email services in the late 1970s and early 80s.
Wow.
I know. Isn't it amazing how
it is?
It's been around for so long.
Yeah.
And then you guys know about Hotmail. That was launched in 1996. And then Yahoo Mail came out, and that was introduced in 1997.
Oh, it was, yeah. I do remember that one. Yeah.
And then Lycos.
Lycos Mail?
That was someone's name, I think.
Lycos?
I think it was back then.
Yeah, I never had I had both a Hotmail and a Yahoo at one point.
I had a hate those, but not a like those. So, yeah.
Yep. Yep. I had a Hotmail. Oh, I have a Hotmail. I don't know what it is anymore. and then I have a, what was the other one? Oh, no.
Yahoo.
Gmail.
Yahoo.
I have a Yahoo and Gmail. So,
With that.
but anyway, the top ones now, we're going to talk about that a little bit
Yeah,
too.
so the top email, probably the 5 most popular that either everyone listening either already has or has heard of or whatever, is going to be Gmail's probably still the number 1 currently, owned by Google. So they specialize in performance, powerful search engine capabilities, obviously because they're tied to Google, integration with other Google services. They're probably the most universally recognized. If you're buy a new phone or buy a new computer, buy a new Roku or whatever, your Gmail is going to work for virtually any product because it's so universally recognized. And then Outlook is still extremely popular, owned by Microsoft, of course. So most business people still kind of a lot of businesses still gravitate towards Outlook products and Microsoft products. So Outlook's going to be extremely popular, especially in the business world. They want to say they specialize the most in security because when they were dealing with businesses and security, that's kind of their bread and butter. Yahoo Mail is still popular. They give you a lot of free storage, so you can have a ton of email space for free, customizable themes. They have really good spam filtering because Yahoo's been in the business since the 90s, so they've kind of mastered that aspect of it. Here's one I've heard of, but I didn't know much about: Proton Mail. Proton Mail actually specializes in privacy, so you don't actually have to provide them almost any personal information to get an email account.
Okay.
And they specialize in protecting your personal information. You don't have to give them their information. They're not going to track your information, stuff like that. So that's kind of Proton Mail's bread and butter. And then iCloud Mail or iCloud email address is often typical associated with Apple products.
Okay.
If you got an iPhone or you got a Mac computer or something and you didn't already have an email, chances are you got an iCloud email because Apple provided that for free. And that's really popular. Again, if you integrate a lot of devices with Apple, iCloud's probably going to be the most synchronized in that way. But all of these 5 providers, these are nationwide, worldwide companies. So you can sign up for any one of these, and they're going to be almost universally accepted in like I said, new phones, new computers. You travel across the globe, and these email accounts are going to work pretty much seamlessly wherever you are for the most part, because they're kind of the big players in the world. So
if you got relatives over in Sweden or something like that, it's not a problem?
Yeah, I believe, you should have no problem communicating and using their Gmail might end in a different code at the end because certain countries have different.
Oh, okay. Like a lot of the
like Canada,
.nets and
CA.
.ca, some of that stuff, I'm not familiar with, but at least your email service will work when you travel across the globe.
Sure.
With some of these local providers, you might have a little more issue getting it added onto certain devices in certain places. I know my grandpa, he still I don't think understands the email completely, but he has an email for his place in Minnesota, and then he has a separate email for his place in Arizona because he thinks it's like a physical address, and he needs to have one that works there and one that works here. And so there's still some confusion
like something about, I would do.
Yeah, I mean, it makes, when he explains it, well, it's an address, right? And I need it associated. Like, when you say it like that, I can see where that mistake would happen. But well, especially with these 5 providers, they're nationwide. You can set up one, and you never have to change it again. They'll be around for virtually ever. And they've already been around for decades. So
another misconception is that like when you're on the phone talking to somebody, they'll go, it's uppercase this and lowercase that. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, fun fact: email addresses do not matter, uppercase or lowercase.
There are password things that matters
Correct.
for, but not an actual email.
Address does not matter. I think basically, if you put it in, it'll always lowercase it. Emails are kind of like defaulted to lowercase, even if you put it in uppercase, which is fine. And then, Bo, why don't you give us a history of spam? We've all heard of spam or junk mail, and
that's down there in Austin, right?
And not the food.
Yeah.
Not
that's good stuff right out of the can.
Actually, I tried spam for the first time like a year ago, thinking I might as well try it, and I shouldn't have done that. There's other meats in the world, so.
Hey, I know some people that just love spam, so. Careful, we don't want to get too controversial on this radio show.
Yeah, exactly.
Woody's going to have to take all the calls after we leave.
No, that's right.
Yeah, well, Woody can feel all this angry spam fans out there.
Yep. There you go.
Maybe they'll call in a bunch and they'll be spamming you.
True.
So
could be. So what is spam? I don't even know what it is.
Spam is. You've definitely gotten in your inbox. It's any kind of like unwanted emails or emails trying to just flood you with a bunch of offers, things like that. And it actually came from a Monty Python sketch. You a fan of Monty Python?
Oh, absolutely.
Holy Grail?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen the sketch? Do you know which one we're talking about?
I'm not exactly sure. So I probably haven't seen that one, but they've been on for years. So
Yeah, so I guess it's a sketch where there's a group of Vikings and they're reportedly they're actually singing spam over everyone else's conversation at a restaurant. So they're like drowning out the conversation by yelling the word spam, which is kind of where it got adopted because spam is just it's kind of an annoyance. It's something that keeps coming over and over again. It's usually not something all that unique. So in like the early 1980s, 1990s, people began using the word spam to refer to their disruptive emails and all the messages they really don't care about that just keep coming. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's been a term that we use without even thinking about it. And so it's kind of cool to see where the origins come from.
Everything's got to start somewhere.
Right, I guess.
That's right.
It does. Yeah, and Jane's going to talk a little bit about, we talked about independent email providers, why we recommend using one of those.
And I would just say, why not use them? And why you would need them is basically the portability, like Nathan had talked about earlier. You can take that wherever you go. You're not restricted to having your email address connected to your internet provider. So you can do whatever, whenever. So that's awesome.
Yeah, if you move out of the area, we hear people all the time, well, I'm moving out of the area. Now I have to get a new email, and then they're kind of like left in the lurch because if they're moving suddenly, it can take time to do all that stuff.
It takes a lot of time when you've had an email for quite a while.
Yep.
And then the advanced features, there are a lot of services that are offered, better spam filters like we had talked about earlier, larger storage, and then there's other tools and services connected to that as well.
Better security for the most part.
And that was my next
there you
one.
go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So security and privacy, a lot of internet providers often prioritize safety and security and privacy. So, you're a little bit more protected than using your internet provider's email address.
I got a great suggestion, too.
Oh.
This has been on my mind. I got to get it out before I forget, because I'm that old, I'll probably forget. Now, what was I going to say? Oh, no. If people would get used to putting older people like me, put their email on their phone, they'd understand that it travels with them.
Yep, true.
If it's on their laptop at home, well, that's home.
I think it's trapped on the laptop or it's trapped on that device.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the other thing is reliability. I mean, it's there when you need it. It's always, always there. You don't have to worry about anything. It's reliable. You don't have to worry about discontinuing or having bad performance with that. So those are just some really good qualities to have. And I know, Nathan, you just took a phone call this morning about...
It was quite timely. Right. Someone called and was talking to me about email this morning, and I knew we were going to be talking about that on the radio show today. So, yeah, it was a local person here who wanted to sign up, and they planned to switch to Vibrant, but they have an internet. They have an old email provided by their old provider or their current provider, and they came to say, well, is that something I would lose? Is that something I have to pay for? Is that because there are, depending on your provider, they may charge you money to keep your email service. So I told them to contact the provider because it can vary, but that's a problem that people can avoid by getting at one of these national or global providers that aren't tied to any local internet service. One thing I thought of, it's never harmful to have more than one email. I always tell people to have at least 2 emails, maybe even more, and a lot of people do have a work email and a personal email. I remember, I don't know, when I was an adult in my 20s, my wife finally was like, okay, you need to set up another email because you still have the one that you made in like middle school, and the name is like childish and middle schoolish. She's like, can you please stop giving that email out to everybody? It's embarrassing. So
I want a sucker.com.
Yeah, exactly. We still talk to people that give us their email that that they were created it in like middle school.
Yeah.
It's like
Nathan is cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Now it's like Nathan is just decent.
Yeah, exactly. It's more accurate.
Woody is old.
Bo, did you not get the email that his new email address is Nathan is cool? At gmail.com.
Believe me, that one's taken, I'm sure. But it pays to have more than one. I generally I still have that old one from middle school. I kind of use it as my junk mail one. If I'm signing up for services like a drawing for something that I don't want to get a bunch of spam, I may use that one.
Sure.
Where if I'm using it for work or for medical stuff, like more professional kind of stuff, then I'll use my newer one that sounds a little cleaner. So there's no harm in having multiple. If you have more than one, it can be kind of nice. Some people don't like managing more than one, which I understand as well. But so how to sign up for a new email and switch your email? That's kind of the biggest question we get. Okay, everything you said makes sense. I want to get a more nationwide one that's easier to use, more universal. The number one thing is you figure out which provider you want to go with. Like I said, the most popular we hear about is probably Gmail, Outlook, Yahoo, the Proton, the iCloud were the ones that I mentioned earlier. So figure out which one is the best for you, and they all have some different features. Most of them are free. They may offer a paid version that gives you more perks, but almost all of them offer free versions. And then signing up and creating an account is easy. It takes less than 5 minutes. Usually, you could, for example, you could go to gmail.com. You could give them your name, birthday, and pick an email address, and you can have an account in less than 5 minutes. It's very, very simple to create a new email account. And the hardest part then is once you have a new email, it's slowly whittling down your logins for your stuff, your Facebook, your bank account login, your all this stuff. You got to slowly start changing all of that to your new email, and that can be time consuming, and you may have stuff that you forget about. A month later, you're like, oh, this is still using my old email, I better get that updated. So that's the more time consuming part that can take a little bit of time, but do this now. Don't wait to do it. Even if you're not going to make a change, if you're still using kind of that one that your internet provider provided you and you want options down the road, you don't want to be trapped by it, get kind of ahead of the ball game. Set up another email and slowly start weeding this stuff off. It'll save you a lot of time and headache down the road for sure.
Good.
The other thing is don't cancel your email address until you get all of your stuff taken care of, because they do that two-code authentication in some situations. So if you don't do that, you're going to have to call that organization and have them change your email address.
Yep. If you dump your old one and then you go to log into Facebook, they may send you an email to verify it's you, but if you dump that email, you may not be able to get into it.
Right.
So do it, make all these changes and updates before you dump your old one and stop using it altogether.
And usually I just tell people, clean up your old email address first, and then send the information that you want to keep to your new email address. And then from that new email address, send out to your contacts, hey, this is my new email, so that way they can just do a reply and then they get your new email address.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then, again, keep looking with that old email address to see if there's anything else that you want to change and update on that. Yeah. And it's I just say it's just baby steps along the way. And
it doesn't have to be done overnight in one day. That'll take forever. Just slowly whittle it down after a while.
Yes.
Yep. That all sounds good.
All right. Cool. Good stuff, man. The things we learn, right, Bo?
Right, yeah, and just, if you have questions on any of this, you can stop into the office, you can give us a call. We just like to let people know they have options. You're not stuck with your old email that you're getting a ton of spam to. You can get Gmail, you can get Outlook. There's definitely ways to do it. So, yeah, if you do have questions, we're always here to help. And then I guess to wrap up, we do have, if you want to see us a little sooner, we're going to be at the American Legion Car and Bike Night tomorrow, actually. So weather permitting, if you want to stop by, if you have a cool car, if you want to look at some cool cars, now's the time to do it.
Yeah, we're giving away some prizes, so lots of fun.
There's lots of giveaways, free stuff, obviously cool cars. I would say maybe check the Legion Facebook page tomorrow, because I think we might have bad weather coming in.
Afternoon, but it might have died off by the time Car and Bike Night. So, yeah, you better check in.
Yeah, we're hopeful, but I think usually they'll post on their Facebook page if it gets delayed or canceled.
Yep.
And Shane loves emceeing that, so come out and have some fun. And so if you missed part of this, you can certainly catch our replay on Facebook or YouTube channel. Just search for Vibrant Broadband. Also listen live every Wednesday at 10:30 on KLFD. And then if you have any questions, certainly give us a call at 693-3231 or go to vibrantbroadband.com. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Anytime.
I'm Jane.
I'm Nathan.
And I'm Bo.
And tune in next Wednesday for another Vibrant You Live.
Brilliant speed with vibrant service. Vibrant broadband internet. Vibrant broadband internet.